Good morning, everyone. I don't know how you're feeling. I have to admit, Kim already mentioned before, but I'm feeling quite not that great lately because of the what's happening in the world, and sometimes it's really hard to carry out your daily activities when you know that there is so much pain and so much suffering in the world. Um, I don't want to make this day sad or anything, but just a reflection on how privileged we are standing here and knowing that we have a safe roof and we are not afraid of rockets coming down on our houses. So just reflection about the privilege that we have. Just short introduction and just bring it on. Yeah, now I will introduce the topic of the day, starting a net zero journey in the travel sector, a successful case study from HRS. I'm Sarah Lasala from GO2Market, here, head of advisory. And I will introduce a bit about our company, and then I will give the stage to my colleague, Nicole and Fabio, to delving a little bit more into the topic of the day. So the agenda of the day, as I mentioned, we're going to introduce GO2Market and its advisory team that I'm currently representing and leading, then the case study and the dialogue. So it's going to be kind of an interview style. First of all, give you a little bit of context of what is our missions and values. So GO2Market is committed to raise environmental awareness by offering sustainability solutions to enable organizations toward a net zero future. So we're passing by this climate neutrality and going more into a net zero future. This is a nice slide about how we are organized. So GO2Market was founded already 10 years ago. It's a German-based company. We're based in Berlin, but we also have an entity in the United States. We've been traditionally really active in the environmental market, so in environmental commodities with energy attribute certificates. So we are dealing with guarantees of origins, IREX, US REX, and so on, depending on the geography. But we also facilitate power purchase agreement between buyers and producers. So for those who want to have a more long-term approach, but also green gases. So we are not only active in the power market, but also in the green gases through biomethane, hydrogen, and green ammonia. And then energy efficiency certificates and carbon offset credits. But I would like to talk more about the GO2 advisory team that we are today representing. So we realized that we wanted to offer a more holistic approach to our clients. So not only by taking action through market-based solutions, but also on the strategy part, but also on the supply side. So developing our own varying project. Our team is supporting clients in the greenhouse gas accounting, also setting net zero target according to science, so science-based target, but also reporting to CDP. And for those companies that are more energy intensive, we support them with renewable energy procurement strategy, carbon offsetting strategy, especially when it comes to scope 3, but most importantly, through supply engagement program. Has been already mentioned before how the engagement of suppliers is extremely important in order to decarbonize value chains. About a little bit more about GO2 origination team. So as I mentioned before, we are developing our own projects and we're working closely with projects in order to ensure high quality projects and do a due diligence. So especially when it comes to nature-based solutions, we all know the the turmoil in the carbon markets and the need for more accuracy when it comes to evaluate those projects. And then those are our environmental products, let's say, as I mentioned before, EAC, biomethane certificate, energy efficiency certificate, especially in France, and climate contribution credits that can be both in the spot market, but also long-term agreements, so CPAs, so carbon purchase agreements. So just as a reminder, beside the moral imperative that we have to take actions, there is also some few reminders why climate governance better. First of all, to identify and understand the risk and opportunity associated with emissions. So it's the risk, of course, with not calculated, but also the mandatory in order to be compliant with upcoming regulation and the opportunities in reductions. It's also important that this is also can be source of innovation, so to pilot innovation mitigation activities that can help sectors and countries to avoid and reduce their emission. It can prove your organization and business to become more successful in a sustainable way. And then, of course, has been already mentioned in the financial sector to enhance stakeholder information and corporate reputation that we know being really important nowadays, with consumer more aware of sustainability through transparent public report and ESG rating. So a little bit about our approach, an advisor approach, when we support organization in their decarbonization journey. It's a quite easy step. Measure, set targets, develop and implement strategy beyond value chain mitigation, and communicate progress. So measure, of course, you need to measure because you cannot reduce what you don't know. Then set targets and be also ambitious. Develop and implement strategy, and also take a holistic approach by engaging also your stakeholders along your value chain, and then beyond value chain mitigation. So mainly that those emissions that are hard to abate, or as an interim solution, also engage in compensation projects around the world that are verified by international standards, and then communicate your progress, right? So it's also important self-disclosure, but also reporting, for example, by CDP. Just to be aligned on the on how to prioritize the carbonization activity. First, avoid, reduce, reuse, and recover. Replace, remove, rehabilitate, restore, and then offset. That's just to be aligned that we are all on the same page. Without further ado, I would like to present my colleagues here and the case study. Senior Sustainability Consultant, Nicole, and Sustainability Product Manager, Fabio. I give you the stage.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Sarah. Here. I don't know, I don't need it, I think. Maybe I do. Yes, all right. To start off, over the next years, we know millions of companies are going to measure their footprint and also decarbonize. Driven by, we heard it already, regulations such as CSRD, investors, but also to attract talent. And definitely companies have a very pivotal role to play in order to tackle this challenge of our time and to thrive to a future for people and the planet. And today I'm going to talk with HRS, introduce you to their sustainability journey. HRS is a German digital travel platform who approached us in early 2022 to kickstart their journey. We calculated their corporate carbon footprint for the years 2019 and 2021, and currently also doing the 2022 still. We gave them recommendations for the data collection to improve this, but also recommendations to reduce emissions. And lastly, hopefully next year, we will also set a net zero target based on science-based criteria. So I'm welcoming today Fabio Fornari, the product manager for sustainability at HRS. I'm happy to be here with you and also meet you in person. Likewise. For the first time, yeah. Actually. So I remember looking back at our first virtual kickoff meeting where not only the head of procurement and you as part of the project team joined, but also HRS CTO and CFO, which in my experience is quite rare to have C-level involved so early in the project. But also, I believe, very important to have this internal buy-in in order to have a successful long-term strategy rolled out. So maybe you can take the audience to the beginning of this project, who started this project initially, internally, and yeah.
Yeah, sure. Can everyone hear me well? Yeah, okay, thank you. And yeah, thank you, Nicole, for the introduction. Actually, we have a net zero target by 2040, and then we will develop the science-based targets based on that. And because we have this net zero target by 2040, because we signed the climate pledge, I think beginning of 2022, essentially that was one of the drivers to start this process with go-to markets. But before that and afterwards, we will talk about also what we are developing for our customers in terms of sustainability to ensure that they have data available as well for procurement and for booking hotels. This was also a driver. So we already were developing something for sustainability, but of course we also had to do our own homework, right? So even before I joined the company, so I joined in April 2022, before that, the process was already kick-started by, as you said, the C-level. So actually the chief product officer as well started to essentially guide this process. So I believe it was him who approached go-to-market, so Martin. And essentially that, I mean, we were coming out also of a difficult period from the pandemic and so on, but we really wanted to ensure that we don't just sign a climate pledge and don't do the homework afterwards. So that was really the motivation as from HRS. Of course, we have been for the past 10 years being assessed by EcoVadis and so on, but we hadn't yet made this full process of measuring our emissions and then based on that developing targets and so on and strategy. So that was really the motivation at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what made you approach a consultancy in?
I think it's obvious, right? We didn't know where to start as a company and how exactly to do this process, right? So, of course, we look at the market and we saw that there were some consultancies that we could approach, and then we talked to a few of them, and then of course, go-to-market seems very very interesting. You know, as you just saw with the approach to not only measure the emissions but also help us with insights, with then develop the science-based targets, and then ensuring that we have all the data, not only to report, but also to reduce our emissions. So that was, of course, a different approach.
Yeah. So after calculating your footprint for 2019 and 2021, can you share the main outcomes of the results and maybe also if they have been integrated in your business strategy already?
Yeah, sure. So, of course, we noticed, and that's it's a rich experience to then have transparency on your greenhouse gas emissions. Of course, the pandemic impacted on our emissions, so we reduced from 2019 to 2021, I think around 70% of our emissions. Of course, it was a result of the pandemic, but already having transparency on that, we can see where we can also improve going forward as the operations go back, let's say, to normal. And also knowing where are the main sources of emissions, right? So of course for us also Scope 3 is the main source, but also it's business travel and also employee commuting. So what type of policies we can implement internally to ensure that we are reducing the emissions there. So this is something, of course, we shared internally with a lot of key stakeholders in the company. I wouldn't say that we have implemented already a strategy. We're in the way to implement it, but for sure I think having the results at hand and then also your insights on where we should improve, not only to reduce emissions but also where we can improve to collect data, because it's a process, it's hard. We had to start this from the scratch, so a lot of people didn't know why they had to respond to that survey or to that email. So for sure, after the process, when we shared the results across the organization with the people that also participated, then there was clarity as well on the importance of that exercise.
Yeah, and I guess also, as you mentioned, 2019, 2021, obviously very interesting years to compare also the commuting and home office results, I think. Also, I think it's really important about transparency, and of course it was your first time doing this corporate carbon footprint. It's not easy, nobody is perfect. Can you share any obstacles also with the audience that you encountered?
Yeah, I mean, so many. I think, as I said, it was the first time we were doing it, and a lot of people didn't know about the project. So of course the people involved, we were really pushing this ahead, and it was a difficult period because we were still coming out of the pandemic. So a lot of people were still, let's say, overwhelmed because of that. So doing a lot of work in other areas, and getting the data, I think, was the hardest part, right? So approaching the offices, collecting the data, for example, for energy consumption, and especially for 2019, because it was 2 or 3 years ago. So how to have access to this data and so on. So I think that was one of the largest challenges. And I think this year as well, I think we're still, as a company, restructuring. So there's still a gap in saying, well, who will lead this internally, right? Like the governance level. And I think, this will be defined, of course. But for the time being, also adds a challenge if you don't have, a structured, let's say, department for this. So it's still horizontal, which is good. You involve a lot of people to work on it, but it's something that I see that in the coming years we'll have to structure a little bit better to ensure that we are going to do this every year, right? So we need to have a systemic approach to the data collection and so on.
Yeah, I think also I remember that we did a survey in order to collect information from the commuting, and obviously the response rate was not as high as we wanted. But again, it's the first year people are starting to now know, we are doing a corporate carbon footprint. So yeah, let's share the information how we get to work. Moving forward, we know tourism is estimated to be responsible for about 8% of the global emissions, and obviously it's a continuously growing market. And hotels, accommodations, resorts, they actually use a vast amount of waste, energy, and water in order to accommodate their guests. So reducing this footprint is quite essential, and I think collaboration is also very important. And I know a really great thing beyond the corporate carbon footprint that we did with you is also the Green Stay initiative that you started at HRS already beforehand, and would be great if you can share maybe a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. And yeah,
I think now then
maybe I will stay just a little bit further away.
Also, you should come in the yellow box.
Here, yeah. Thank you, Nicole. So yeah, as I mentioned, as HRS, we and Nicole also introduced HRS. So we offer essentially a software as a service platform for corporates to procure hotels, form their hotel program based on, of course, different dimensions. So sustainability is a growing dimension that a lot of our customers are requesting data for. And so we developed the Green Stay initiative in order to provide with our customers with the right data for the procurement exercise to identify the most, let's say, efficient hotels, and also to ensure that the travelers can spot those hotels that are aligned with their sustainability policy. And of course, on the exercise to, let's say, measure and reduce your emissions, then you also have to report. So having the right data at hand, it's let's say, the goal of the Green Stay initiative. So essentially what we, maybe we can go back here. So essentially what we developed starting in 2020, and we launched the Green Stay initiative in 2021, was we didn't want to reinvent the wheel or create a different standard overall. So we look at the industry and we identify the industry standards for the hospitality industry to calculate carbon, water, and waste based on the property level data. And these methodologies were developed by the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance. So I'm referring here to the Hotel Carbon Measurement Initiative, for example. And we essentially created a digital approach where the hotels can access a platform and share their energy consumption, the details of their property, how much water they used, what was the average occupancy rate for that reporting year. And then we provide a calculation based on emission factors in our system that provides already a benchmarking, very straightforward as an energy efficiency benchmark with ABCD. And this is also aligned with the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, ISO standards, and so on. And then, of course, we didn't want just to stop in the footprint assessment, and we also wanted to collect more inputs from the hotels in other dimensions of sustainability. And also, so we created essentially a sustainability journey for the hotels to join in different levels as well. Of course, taking the feedback from the industry that many hotels are still struggling to provide data inputs on sustainability. So the basic level is a self-assessment on 11 areas of sustainability. So here we know there's a challenge to verify what the hotels are giving us, but we wanted to open a door for them to join the Green Stay initiative to report on some of the strategies or initiatives they already have, and then slowly start to move them to the advanced level where we cover more criteria of sustainability, becomes more granular, and we have the footprint assessment, and then go to the professional level ultimately where we also require an external verification on the data the hotels are providing. So as I said, we displayed all this in the procurement platform that we offer to our customers, and also in the online booking tools. So not only HRS on booking tool, but the integrations we have with other OBEs, so Concur, Citric, KDS, and so on. So the travelers would see, according to the sustainability, the procurement strategy that you set, which hotels are aligned with your sustainability strategy in the booking channels. And I just brought here one quick feedback from one of our largest customers, so Siemens. We actually developed the Green Stay initiative a lot in collaboration with customers, especially Siemens. And for them, this essentially is providing them with a uniform global standard to measure and compare hotels based on their environmental footprints. And of course, reduce as much as possible the emissions that are stemming from the hotel program, and ultimately report. And also we're going to the next step to remove emissions next. So if you are interested in checking the current state of sustainability in corporate travel, I just put our white paper here. I hope this QR code is working. And yeah, so I think in the interest of time, I'll just stop here and then we can open for questions if possible.
Yeah, super interesting. I think obviously guest satisfaction is still high priority, but I do believe many managers also care deeply about sustainability. So it's nice that they are being recognized through this initiative. Maybe coming back to HRS again, we talked a lot about now carbon, but of course there's also other topics in an ESG strategy. Do you have any other materials that are important to HRS that you're looking into for the ESG strategy?
I mean, I think now, of course, we are really looking deeply at the CSRD, CSDDD, what's coming also from the United States with the SEC proposing, Scope 3 reporting, also the International Sustainability Standards Board launching new sustainability disclosure standards. So we are focusing on all of these new sustainability disclosure standards that are coming out, and how the Green Stay initiative needs to adapt to it. So what type of criteria do we need to implement? Because as I showed, we cover quite a lot of areas of sustainability, but still on, let's say, the human rights side, or the diversity, equity and inclusion, or the labor conditions and things like that, I think we still need to implement more criteria and be better at also verifying this type of criteria. So these are the things we're looking at now and trying to incorporate as much as possible in our initiative.
Great, yeah. So maybe as a last question, as an outlook, we know that governments are obviously very essential in order to drive regulations so that the transformation can happen. But do you have maybe any initiatives or collaborations you like to see in the travel sector to be evolved over the next years?
Yes, I mean, the dream is that everyone would come together, right, at the same table and share the data and, agree to a standard and things like that. I think that, and if you go to travel, events, everyone's talking about this. So for sure, like this is one thing we need to do better as an industry, is to collaborate more and share more and not compete so much in sustainability, compete in other areas. So I think, and there is actually a certain movement there. So if you look at what the Global Business Travel Association is doing, this environment, they're trying to bring more companies together to align on certain common standards that we need to follow, and to ensure that also the customers or the corporates, when they're requesting the information from the hotels, they're also using, let's say, a unique type of assessment. So yeah, I think from my side, what I would like to see is more collaboration. I think that we're getting there, but yeah, there's more to be done, I would say.
Yes, I think that's a good finished sentence. Collaboration. Thank you for your attention, and thanks, Fabio.
Yeah, thank you.